Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. How are you all, class 8? I hope all of you are completing your assignments in your notebooks and all the work or all the exercises that have been given at the end of the chapter in your notebooks, and the assignments are being regularly done in your test copy. Please do your work sincerely and honestly, because that would yield fruitful results for you all only. Now today I will start with the second lesson in biology, that is reproduction in plants. What does the term reproduction mean? If you break up the word or split the word into two parts, that is reproduction, producing again. Now each and every living organism on this earth has this characteristic, that is they reproduce, and if they don't reproduce, their race will come to an end. That particular species will come to an end. For the continuity of the race, all the living organisms need to reproduce. All of us have a certain lifespan. We live for a certain number of years and after that we die, whether be it a plant or animal. So unless and until we reproduce, that particular species will come to an end. That is, its existence from earth will disappear forever. So the ability of living organism to produce young ones of their own kind is called reproduction. Is it clear? Now today we will study about the reproduction in plants. There are two basic modes of reproduction in plants, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. As the term asexual reproduction means does not involve the reproductive cells. Is that clear? So the production of new plants from a single parent without the involvement of reproductive cells is called asexual reproduction, and it may take place by three means, that is by fragmentation, by spore formation, and also budding. One more type of asexual reproduction, that is vegetative propagation, is also included in this, since it involves the vegetative parts of the plant. Is it clear? So this is asexual reproduction. So moving on to the sexual reproduction, that is the production of new plants from the fusion of reproductive cells. Those are from the male and the female reproductive parts of the plant, is known as sexual reproduction. And the male and the female reproductive cell fuse to form the seeds, and from these seeds the process of germination take place and a new plant develops. So this is generally happening in all the plants which are around us, like especially the food crops that we are taking on even the fruits that we are having. Examples are wheat, rice, mustard and sunflower. Then asexual reproduction in plants, we'll learn about the various methods, that is fragmentation. As the term fragmentation has been derived from the term fragment. Fragment means pieces. So whenever an organism breaks into two parts and each fragment develops into a new organism, it is known as fragmentation. You can see this, right? These are the two fragments, and these two fragments are going to form two different individuals. You can see this. Then Spirogyra is an example which is reproducing by this particular method. It has a long ribbon-like body and it breaks into two or more fragments, and each fragment grows to form a new individual. Then moving on to the spore formation. Then plants like mosses and ferns reproduce by forming spores. Now you can see the examples of mosses and ferns. So spores are produced in sac-like round structures which are known as sporangium. And when these sporangium bursts, the spore disperse in air, which being light in weight, they are easily carried to distant places by air and water. And when they get favorable conditions, they germinate and give rise to new individuals. Now in fern, these spores are found in the clusters of sporangia, which is called sori, and these sori, you can see in this diagram, are present on the lower surface of the leaf. Is that clear? Not on the upper surface but on the lower surface of the leaf. Then the third means of asexual reproduction is by budding. Now yeast is a fungi, right? This fungi was included in plants, but according to the 5 kingdom classification, fungi form a separate kingdom. It reproduces asexually through budding. Now you can see a small protuberance or a small outgrowth has been found on the parent body or parent yeast, and this develops into a new yeast cell. It gets just detached from the mother cells and grows into a new yeast cell. At times this budding is so fast, as you can see over here, this is so fast that this develops or this grows into a chain of yeast cells. Is that clear? So sometimes it is so fast that each and every bud is gets detached from the parent cell and forms a new yeast cell. Is it clear? Now you can see that asexual reproduction is done by 3 methods, that is fragmentation, then spore formation, and by budding. Then you can see this, you have to draw the diagrams 2.1, then budding in yeast, and 2.2 in your copies, please, in your notebooks. Then please revise the chapter and try to do exercise on page number 19 and 20. Then moving on to the vegetative propagation, I have told you about the various parts of the plant, and I am showing you this diagram. You can see the various parts of the plant, the root system, the shoot system, the root system which is present below the soil, and the shoot system which is bearing the stem, the leaves, the flowers, buds, etc., and are present in air. Is that clear? Above the soil. So when the plant grows from the vegetative parts like the roots, stems and leaves of a plant, it is called vegetative propagation. It is also a type of asexual reproduction, and these vegetative parts are called propagules. Is it clear? Potato, mint, ginger, sugarcane and banana reproduce by vegetative propagation. Then first is vegetative propagation by stem. Some plants, if you can take the example of grass, strawberry and mint, reproduce by this method by stems. What happens? The stem of these plants grow horizontally, that is parallel to the ground. Then roots and shoots develop at the nodes of the stem. What are the nodes? Nodes are the parts from where the lateral branches or from where the leaves are rising. Those parts on the stem are known as the nodes. Is that clear? Then root grows downward into the soil. The shoot grow upwards. New leaves develop on the shoot. Is it clear? Then moving on to the next type of vegetative propagation through underground stems, that is in the form of tuber, bulb and rhizome. Now these generally are solen underground stems because they store food, and they are capable of producing new plants just because of the presence of nodes and internodes on them. So first is stem tuber. The underground stem of the potato is called stem tuber. It has many nodes called eyes. You can see the diagram. You can see this. You can see the eye of the potato having the node as well as the internode. Just because of its shape, you can or we call it an eye, and this has a capability to develop into a new plant. And if suppose you cut it into pieces and you and each of these pieces are having the eye, then each piece will develop into a new individual potato plant. Is it clear? Next is bulb. Then underground, all of us have seen the onion. We have seen, if not tulip and lily, all of us have seen the onion. That is the bulb, and if you sow it under the soil, it will grow into a new plant. It is capable of producing new plant. They are having terminal and axillary buds. Terminal buds are buds which are born at the terminal, the end of a particular stem, and axillary buds are present in the axil of the stem, axil of the leaf. You can say the angle or the point where which is between a particular leaf and the stem, that is known as the axil, and the buds arising from those parts are known as axillary bud. So these bulbs have both terminal and axillary buds, and they are protected by fleshy scaly leaves. If you open up an onion, you can easily see all these parts. Now you can see this in this picture, the terminal and axillary buds and the fleshy scaly leaves of the onion. The same is in tulip and lily also. They store food and new plants grow from these buds. Is it clear? Next is the rhizome. We all have seen ginger, turmeric, right, and they are also capable of producing new plants. They have nodes, internode, thin scaly leaves and axillary buds, and the axillary buds grow into new plants. Is that clear? Next type of vegetative propagation is by roots. We all have seen plants which have large and swollen roots, and these have buds on them. These roots are swollen just because of the storage of food, and when the buds detach from the parent plant, they give rise to new plants. Example are sweet potato, dahlia, cascara, asparagus, carrot and tamarind. Next is vegetative propagation by leaves. Now leaves of some plants like bryophyllum and begonia, you can see this, you can see they have what type of margin? Serrated margin. They don't have straight leaf margins, but they have serrated, zigzag. Is that clear? So buds are present in the notches of the margin, and when these leaves or buds get detached from the parent plants and fall in moist soil, the buds grow into new plants. So we have studied about the asexual reproduction and vegetative propagation today. And asexual reproduction, the means have been fragmentation, spore formation and budding. And in the vegetative propagation, we have studied the propagation through the stem and the root, and also through the leaves. Then moving on to the artificial methods of vegetative propagation. So these include cutting, layering, grafting and micro propagation. So what does cutting mean? We have seen this, those people who are fond of gardening, you must have seen your parents doing it, or even the person who is employed to look after your plants, you must have seen, especially the rose plant, they cut from time to time, they are forming cuttings. The stem with an axillary bud is cut. This is called the stem cutting, and the cutting of the stem is planted. Is that clear? It is planted in moist soil. What happens after a few days? Roots and leaves develop from the cut stem. From that cut stem, roots and leaves develop, and that means a new plant is produced, and this plant is capable of producing all the parts of the plant. This method is used to propagate rose, bougainvillea and sugarcane. Then another is layering, as the term itself means. The branch or the bark of a small portion of a lower branch is removed. You can see this small portion is removed and it touches the soil. It is bent and it is covered with moist soil. One of the branches is touched in the soil and it is covered with soil. After a few days, what is seen? You can see this, the roots develop, and these roots develop, and this particular part is capable of producing a new plant. Now the branch is then cut from the main plant, and it grows as an independent plant. This method is used to propagate guava, lemon, China rose and jasmine. Next is grafting. In this method, the stem of one plant without the root is cut obliquely and placed over the another plant with the rooted stem. This you can see in the picture, the stalk and the scion, that is the stem of one plant without the root. It is placed obliquely, another plant with the rooted stem, a stem having the root, that is known as the stalk. Now this is done in such a way that the cambium of both the stems come in contact with each other. They are placed in such a way that the cambium tissue comes in contact with each other. It is in continuity. Now what is cambium? This is a part which is capable of active cell division. Very actively dividing cells are present in this. These are bound tightly with a piece of cloth and covered with a polythene sheet to avoid infection and the loss of water from cut surfaces. Is it clear? You can see the diagram in your books also, figure 2.9. What happens after a few days? You can see this, the scion and stalk, how they are tied together, and then after a few days what happens? New cells develop. They join the scion and stalk together. This method is used to develop new and better varieties of plants. When we graft a high yielding variety over a disease resistant variety, we get a disease resistant plant that gives a high yield. Now this is generally used for improving a particular species of plants. For example, a particular species is high yielding, that is the number of fruits or number of flowers that are being produced, or the grains that are produced are of superior quality, or they are producing more. This is high yielding. And disease resistant means the disease that is prevalent in all other species of that plant, but it is not present in that particular plant, then it is a disease resistant variety. When we graft them, when we use the grafting process in this, then we yield a variety in which both the good characters, two traits or two good characteristics are present, and becomes a better variety of that particular plant. Then this figure also, figure 2.9, you have to draw in your notebooks. Then micro propagation is a type of artificial vegetative propagation of plants. It is done by the tissue culture technique. What do we do in this? A tiny piece of bud, shoot, or any other part of the plant is taken, and this tiny piece is called an explant. This tiny piece is called an explant. It is treated with chemicals to prevent growth of microbes, growth of any microorganism. Then it is grown in a particular nutrient medium. Now what happens after they are put in a particular nutrient medium? The cells of the tissue divide and grow into a mass of undifferentiated cells. Now this you can see in the picture, how the tissue culture is taking place, or micropropagation is taking place. This technique is also called as the tissue culture. Now some growth regulators, there are certain hormones or chemicals which regulate the growth. They are known as the growth hormone. They include the plant hormones and are known as the growth regulators. They are added to the medium. After few days, the callus differentiates into root and shoot. A tiny plant called plantlet is formed. The plantlet is transferred to the soil. Orchids, chrysanthemum and asparagus are grown by this method. You can see explant, then the callus, that is the cells which are there. Then you can see the plantlet growing, and this plantlet is taken out and it is sown in the soil. Is it clear? So this is all for today. We will discuss the advantages and limitations of tissue culture and proceed to the next part of the chapter. Revise the part which we have covered today and try solving the exercise on page number 21 as well. Is it clear? So we will revise the chapter again and then we will proceed further to the chapter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.